Is I didn't hit record. So
Uh-oh.
continue.
So is us winging it, because that's what we all do as educators, right? This is how we move. We're with you on the day-to-day going, okay, well, we just modify. One of the resources I offer and is available here in South Dakota is our resource hub. And when we came across the iron triangle, of course, we wanted to make sure that was built in. They have a whole section on it. So I'm going to go ahead and share that now. Do not understand why it just sends everything all in every which way. It just should just keep everything and then just share my one screen. But anyway, when we look at this resource hub, I've logged in already. And so it's going to provide you with a whole bunch of resources at your fingertips and you can just search. So I just searched iron triangle and this is what has come up. So you can see it's very comprehensive. When we talk about it, it's going to first cover the article and the concept that Janessa was referring to. So it's the principles of the iron triangle. One of the things that I find is very helpful is it covers all of that. So what is the best practices for getting full enrollment? There's going to be some resources in here with a tracking to see like why and how you go about it. So how you track that enrollment to compare, there's a resource to go ahead and do that and then compare it weekly and monthly. So you can get a really good understanding of what it looks like week to week and where you might have gaps, as well as on a long-term plan so you can map out what it might look like in those months when you're doing transitions. Like right now, we're transitioning to summer. I'm sure you're well aware. And then right after that, we transition into the school year. So making sure that we can know what our availability is to make sure we fill. That's one of the core components of that triangle. Okay, so back at the top, you can see tuition and full fees. How do you go about setting up systems to make sure you're collecting on time? First of all, with clear policies and procedures, and then follow through, making sure that your handbook policies are clear. In home, too, you should have really clear policies. And if you're an in home who does not have a handbook, I have a really good example from my own for my own in home that I'd be happy to share that just makes this kind of stuff really clear and how you go about charging all of it. And then it's cut and dry. You can use an automated system to do it. It could be like, oh, you didn't pay, so it automatically charged you a late fee. It's just going to do that. I don't have to do it. It's just going to charge you. You'll have to go in if there was like a late parent and add that for time, but like for payment wise, those systems are in there. They'll just automatically go through. Then you don't have to take accountability. Then you can, if Janessa said like maybe it's the first time a new system, sometimes parents have a transition of like the payroll or anything like that that was going on and why they're switching into your new care that could also be in effect. And you could say, okay, let me go back and reverse that one. Now you're the nice guy in the situation. Be like, oh, I'm sorry. I totally understand. For this one time, I can go back and change it, but it's going to automatically do it. You have to make sure it comes in and it's going to come out on this day. So you can make sure that policy is abundantly clear. It's just automated. You're on their side. You're making it work for them, but it's the system that was created. It just sounds a lot nicer. It helps with that. This um, ECE resource is going to have all kinds of things like this to be helpful. Cost, child, um, revenue. This is going to break that down, how to calculate that. And then part-timers. I'm just curious, is anyone still doing part-timers? When I talk to leadership, most of the time they're not doing part-timers because it's just too much to try to fill those hours and you're going to pay for them whether they're there or not. And you just can't fill them. And if anyone is doing it, I just like a thumbs up in the chat because I'm just curious. It's just something I've seen across our community that everyone's like, nope, ain't got time for that. Oh, look at you. Vicky, you're brave. You're brave. And that in the smaller centers, it really does make it hard to cover that opposite time to keep a full enrollment then. Yep. Um, And
go ahead,
Jessi,
Janessa.
I was going to say I did add, and I'm not sure if it's in here. I just saw calculating the cost. Um, costofchildcare.org is a site where you can put in by state and you can click on
Yeah,
a bunch of different options. So if you're trying to calculate
that
what
will be like
the
to help.
cost of care should be, yeah,
Perfect.
I just threw that in the chat if anybody is curious and wants to explore the resources. And it wouldn't surprise me if that one's not
I would guess
um,
it might be like right
listed. Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
surveying the
It's
key
always good, I think, to check a couple of different
Yep.
resources when you're
And
looking at things
childcare
like
where,
that
yeah,
too.
absolutely. Market rate brief. I love more resources. In fact, we're actually looking at collecting resources to keep adding to this. That's what's really great about this ECE resource hub is it's constantly being updated. So we're going to add that to it too. So I'm making a note. And
Right.
then the other piece of this I wanted to show is if from the um, principles of the iron triangle, they also, you can click on this spreadsheet, which is part of that. So there is an actual workup for that calculation. At the very bottom of this spreadsheet, you can see it says full enrollment. It'll let you and walk you through step by step how to create this spreadsheet to tell you your numbers. Collection, what it looks like, you put in your information and it should tell you how it will work out or what you should be looking for. So this can be a data sheet that you can input your numbers in and your class and all the things about your center and get a full spread. Okay. This is available for free, just at a click of a button right here at your ECE resource hub. Okay, that link is in the email that Rose sent out. So you can get on the ECE resource hub. I will tell you, if you do not have an account, you're gonna go on there and log in, and it might take a day or two to get the login because we actually have someone has to go in and manually be like, go ahead.
You're
So
approved. Yeah.
it's approved. So we'll just let us know. Shoot us an email and we'll double check that that happened too. We can follow up on our end, but that is a very state we have great information that's national, and then we get to update our own space to make it very applicable to what you're going through.
Yep.
That article about the iron triangle and why it works is right here, and that's also on there. So all of those articles and information that we're referencing, you can get at the resource hub. While I'm talking about the resource hub, you can also go on and see there's this successful program management. Here's all kinds of other tools and sections that'll walk you through. So if you need support with HR, a lot of times it's forms and things and how to approach things. If you are a self-starter and do not want to reach out to me, although I love it when you reach out to me, if you just want to like kind of browse and see what you might be interested in, this is a great place to do that. Financial management, see the principles of the iron triangle are already there. If you're thinking about Head Start quality, there's Head Start in homes and that kind of small Head Start programming that you can do. There's information about all this nutrition and safety, or there's also information about the food program. All of that is in here. So get in there, get in the resource hub. Okay, that's my little plug for that. Marketing your program. This is another one I think is really helpful, especially when we're talking about bringing people in and marketing. It's not only to families because we know the need for families is there, but you're marketing to teachers at this point. We want good quality teachers who are highly passionate and excited about coming to work for you, and you market it that way too. So that's my little plug on all of things Resource Hub.
Perfect. Thank you, Jessi. Let me get back to the. There we go. Okay. On to point number 2. And sticks with Jessi.
Yeah. So in South Dakota, we heavily rely on both those center-based programmings, mostly in our bigger cities, because we know that the rural areas are supported with their childcare by family and in-home providers. They're both essential for our system to function here in South Dakota. So centers can serve more children, but they carry significant overhead and are deeply impactful by staffing shortages. So we know that that's the one part. Nessa, did you want to cover this and then I can go into the next? Do you want to do person or did it matter?
Oh, it doesn't matter. We just really thought it would be nice to see a comparison of centers versus in-home with this slide here because there are, I mean, I worked in leadership in both, and then also you have that added responsibility as being the owner of your in-home as well. And so yes, you might have some lower overhead in the in-home, but you do have a lot more flexibility in what type of schedule that you're setting And one thing that I personally really, really loved about having in-home was the strong family relationships that I created. Because I had, well, I pulled from a lot of different programs. I pulled things that I really liked when I had the opportunity to open my own program. You know, I loved that Head Start had parent nights once a month. We had like literacy nights and then dad nights. And so I made sure that I had some sort of family connection night every month. It was the parents actually helped plan them, and then they were engaged. And I put up a lot of little signs around if we had activities so that it didn't rely on me to help with the activity, but it encouraged the parents to do activities with the kids. So sometimes that was different prompt questions at different stations, and sometimes it was just a big potluck meal that we shared together and just relaxed and chatted and let the kids play outside and just got to know each other a lot more. That stuff can happen in centers, but I think that it happens less frequently. With Head Start, it was something that was part of their programming, so they did do that. But I do encourage any program, no matter what size, to actually add some of those parent connection opportunities in, and not just for leadership, but staff, like the whole classroom staff. Everybody should be getting to know the families that are in there. It's really great whenever you are talking about, or when you talk to families and you minimally greet them by like Charlie's dad or Charlie's mom, but hopefully you know the parent's name as well. And then challenges. So I think there's actually some similarities and some differences here with in-home and centers. Um, Although one of the biggest challenges with in-home is the isolation, um, where because you're on your own. And honestly, I remember when I very first started, I was like, "What do you mean I can be in the bathroom for 5 minutes without having to have line of sight on the kids in in my space?" Because that was one of the biggest challenges to me, or one of the changes, moving from center base to in-home. And it's I just feel like it's really interesting having experienced both of them. Like I wasn't the owner of a center, so I'm not quite sure personally what that's like, but I was responsible for budgets and overhead and that kind of a thing because most of the time there were multiple centers when I was a leadership position. So I had a person above me and then they had a person above them. So you have like this hierarchy also that you're working with. So you're not just a decision maker. um, Flip side, in-home, you can be a decision maker, but if you're questioning it, whether it's working or not, you might be questioning whether you should do something. I think it's really great to have either a coach or a network of other providers that you can connect to that helps um, make you not feel so isolated, but also you can maybe bounce some ideas off of them that can help with some of those challenges. And then I'm trying to make sure I got everything covered here. Oh, the scheduling. I have worked with some of the larger centers in downtown Rapid and trying to schedule playground time and or whatever indoor gross motor space time. It gets very complex. Which, if you're at home, you're you don't have that complexity, which is really nice. But that is no joke, and because you still have to maintain ratios, so you have to be careful about taking infants out with preschoolers and that kind of a thing. Try to keep your ratios in balance. Just let's see. I was going to say nationally, we're seeing a push towards shared services. Also, the last couple of years, I've been working with the National Association for the Education of Young Children, and through our like systems work, and in South Dakota we call them partners. We have early learner communities that we're trying to get people to talk together within communities to see if there's any types of shared services that programs might be able to have, whether it's like using a food order service or insurance, or just being connected to your local community to understand what services are offered, um, can be very helpful. And so we're actually looking at a lot of that right now. And NACY's putting out a list that we can even share, possibly like from one affiliate to another, within South Dakota because we all want to work smarter and not harder in this field. Definitely. Like Jessi offering to share her handbook. I do the same thing over the years. Like I all any of the documents that I created, I was always willing to share with people.
Yeah. I think too, we touched about it, but like staffing a center is
Oh,
the biggest struggle. You want to be able to offer availability to families, but I feel like some of the biggest struggles centers are facing right now is being able to hire um, prepared staff. So I think that there's people who are passionate coming into the field, but are new and young and upcoming, and it takes a lot of effort and energy to pour into them. And you're in your in-home, like, man, it's me. I know what my level is. I know what I can get done. So there's that level.
mhm.
But we want to support and raise up a community of professionals that we want to work beside and work with. And that takes a lot of work. It's a hard job to raise up other teachers and to lead them where you want them. So when you talk about staffing shortages and supporting the other side of that, because it's much more than just a staffing shortage. We lost a lot of staff in COVID that left the field. And so we have a shortage of quality providers in general. And so we're
Mhm.
raising up young providers. Those of us who've been in the field for years and years, here we are raising up those others. And so leadership that's in this room that's here tonight listening to ways we can do it, it's calling that level of professionalism up and holding to that standard because we know what's best for kids. We also know what teachers want is they want what's best for kids. So that's going to be the
Yeah.
biggest struggle, I think, is staffing for those centers, frankly.
Agreed. Because I know, in South Dakota, we do have some relaxed licensing standards when it comes to early childhood. In Colorado, they expect you to have credit hours and many of them before they allow you to work in early childhood. It's not an easy job, and I mean, being in the field this long, it honestly, for me, it wasn't until I took a deep dive and went through a master's program that I really understood my teaching strengths and child development really strongly, and felt like I was a good quality educator. But it was a lot of self-reflection. And I would say nowadays, higher education is trying to provide those experiences in early or in associates programs where they're having you do a lot more reflection early on. And our board of regents is listening. I have to say that because we've been advocating for expanding, SDSU has been our kind of beacon of a college for early childhood up until recently, and now we've got Southeast Tech and Lake Area Tech, and Northern State is working on an apprenticeship, and Black Hill State is working on an associates, and so they're listening. They're making changes, and I think Rose is going to talk a little bit about some of those later. But and also DSS has worked on getting the CDA. Is it still for free for people working in regulated programs? Okay, fingers crossed that we
We're
keep it. All
waiting on
right.
the funding information to come through so we know if that scholarship will be honored this next year. But because of
Okay.
funding cuts to DSS, we're still kind of in limbo and waiting if
All right.
that is going to be approved. So
All right.
pause and let us
Things
know.
up.
I know it's a priority. I can tell you that.
Yeah. We've South Dakota's provided for free for people working in regulated programs over the last several years. That was a big change. I know Jessi mentioned I worked for Early Childhood Connections earlier, and it was advocating. It was listening to you guys that are working in the field and taking it back to the state and saying this would be really helpful if we could provide this service. Having that CDA, which allows you to start doing more self-reflection and dive a bit deeper than the initial classes that are off or that are required to work in early childhood.
I
The
will say that
training hours, yeah.
this next year they offer a birth to 5. So for like an in-home, you can get the
Hmm.
whole gamut and you don't have to specifically pick an age group, which will be really helpful for the capacity we have right now in our community. So I'm seeing a lot of people who are like, well, I started with the infant toddlers and then they moved me to the threes. So now I'm technically preschool because that's where I was needed, and or vice
Yep.
versa. And so because of the movements and shifting, this will be really beneficial for someone who has the gamut, and it's just
Yeah.
a birth to 5. So that should be rolling out too. That's the one we're focusing on. So
Yeah. Well, and the council's made some changes to the CDA council in
yeah.
that you take your test first, and if you do well enough on your test, you don't even have to have the verification visit, which I'm a professional development specialist, so I do those observations, and several people already this year have done well enough on the test and didn't need to have that verification visit. So they're also listening to the field and trying to make some changes to help better support the field.
Yep. We're following along with all those changes too because we teach the CDA here in our office. So if that's something you're interested
Yes.
in, come see me as I'm the teacher. They said we wear all the hats. This is my other hat. Woo! So,
Okay. We're going to hop over. One thing I wanted to circle back to, both of those ladies touched on that I don't know if you guys picked up on the common theme. Things take time, right?
Yes.
Janessa's talking about advocating for these CDA changes. That took years to get there. So when we look at, like Jessi talked about, raising up the quality of these young teachers that are entering the field, I don't want you leaders to think that it's going to happen overnight or even over this summer. It's going to take time building that relationship, finding out what their strengths are. So don't beat yourself up if you think it's going to be a quick fix and happen overnight. Things take time. And in this field, when we want quality, you have to be ready to invest that time. So, okay, we're going to hop over to point number 3, and this goes back to Janessa.
All right. So we're talking about challenges that are outlined are not just unique to South Dakota, but in rural states they're often amplified. We feel it more because we're spread out so much. Our resource, we wear all the hats, like Jessi just said. We sure do. Um, go ahead and go to the next slide there, Rose. So we've got a list that we've compiled here, and we're going to be talking about these in more detail as we go through each one. But these are the things we're seeing the most. That we talked already a little bit about the staffing crisis, the financial strain. So many programs have closed. The pandemic wreaked massive havoc on a system that was already not a typical business model, whether you're in a center or home. Enrollment instability, policy versus relationship tension, administrative overload, and then also emotional toll. So we're going to be looking at each of those. All right, so in the staffing crisis, we consistently hear from programs that they could serve more children tomorrow if they had quality staff, or if they, so many programs, and I thought it was going to be temporary. I was at ECC for several years during the pandemic, but we're still feeling the aftermath of that. So Jessi talked a little bit earlier about getting the quality trained staff, but in addition to that, you might have well qualified staff, but it's hard when fast food has been able to raise wages or their cost of a Big Mac up to be able to compensate. Well, we don't have the luxury of just charging parents more, because I mentioned that earlier. If we just kept doing that, then it's going to make it not affordable for parents. But then there's also burnout of often what I've seen is the people that are staying in the field, they're carrying the weight. They're the ones continually having to train the new people coming through. And that just gets really tiresome sometimes. And so making sure that there's self-care happening. I know at our early childhood conference, we talked about self-care. Jessi is a big believer in self-care. We have to make sure we're filling our buckets first. And that actually can help reduce the stress of, I think, everyone, from the assistant teachers to the director to the owners, all of it. Whenever you're looking at everything, it impacts that. Okay. Next in
Can I just
financial
add one more
strength. Oh,
thing I
yes,
just heard,
sure, sure,
Janessa? So
sure.
recently I just heard that self-care is not giving yourself a bubble bath and time to rest, although that is part of it. But what it is giving yourself the mental load break that you need.
Yep.
So that means giving up a responsibility to someone else, delegating, raising up someone to do the job, like one little part of it that you can then be like, not my business anymore. You need to do that to actually relieve the stress. You're not going to get burnout just by getting a day off.
Yeah. And
You have
sometimes
to,
it's saying no.
yeah. Janessa, I'm so proud of you. Those are my words just falling out of your mouth. It's
So
true.
I have to tell you guys, I have a
And it's no because I care about the yeses I've already said. Like I already
yes,
have the commitments already. It's not no because I don't care. It's because I've already said yes to so many
yep,
other things that I'm very passionate.
yes,
Okay. So
yes,
just remember that self-care is not just taking a nice bath and resting. It is creating more space so you have the mental capacity to actually rest.
yep.
I had to
All
take
right.
that one
It's okay.
too.
So programs are balancing rising costs with families who are already stretched thin because, not only have we had to make some changes in early childhood just to cover the cost of the supply chain, but gas is up, groceries are up. So it's not just the cost of childcare, it's all the things which families feel and you feel as providers. That gap is where many programs are struggling to survive. But you really do, I mean, sometimes you just have to set aside that emotional component of it and really look at it from a business perspective lens and make sure that you're charging enough to cover the cost of the care that you're providing. And then also, I would say, the reliance on subsidy systems, I feel like South Dakota's been doing pretty good of late. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't heard anything negative. I know there were some system things several years ago, but that has, I think, been righted. So, and then also like in Rapid City, there's other like starting strong is another opportunity, and then the Vicarovich Foundation is piloting a tri-share program. So there are some community-based solutions that are working to help with this financial strain on both the provider side as well as the parent side. Next one.
And something that just came to mind that I'm sure most
Yeah.
of you've already thought about, but the increase in gas prices that Janessa said, you're moving into summer with those field trips. Have you thought about how that might impact your budget? Like those line items that
Hmm.
vary, right? So think about
Hmm.
that, business ladies.
Not only that, with the cost of everything else that's going up, it would not surprise me if admissions to some of these places that you thought were pretty consistent are also going to go up. It's going to cost more for the concessions at the pool. It's going to cost more for admissions because they're also having to pay their employees more to keep them around. So it's
Hmm.
a cost that's just going to keep going up. Or the cost of chemicals to keep the pool clean are going to go up, and so they're going to have to raise their admittance because
Yep.
of those things. So just think about that. My feedback on that is to do more on-site things. So reach out. We have all kinds of ideas that you can do to engage the kids in a cheaper, more affordable way because we are thinking about these stressors too.
All right. So talking about enrollment here. So part-time care, shifting schedules, seasonal employment all impact enrollment patterns, especially in rural communities. So I would say, we're out here, we have rapid and I mean, granted, we cover what 25,000 square miles for the region out here West River. Um, but there's different fluctuating needs that families have. So, you think about the um like the nurses and the doctors and the teachers might need the summer off, but are you going to require them to pay for their spot, or like how does that work? I know some providers actually care just for teachers' children, but there are shifts that happen. I know there's not a lot of programs that offer those out of the typical, like, it used to be 6 to 6, but I think it's more like 7 to 5, that a lot of programs have
5:30. Yep.
shortened their time, just because of the staffing that's available for the providers. It's not that the programs don't want to be able to offer those services, but it's just been a matter of, we have to stay in business too as providers, and these are the times that we have staff available to work. So I've seen that. That's been a big shift, I think, since the pandemic, is the later opening and earlier closing times for many programs, both family and centers. And then, yeah, like I mentioned, those seasonal changes, and also like school closure times and school calendars and all those kinds of things that you have to keep in mind, whenever you're doing your planning and your scheduling. Anything else to add on that, Jessi?
No, no, I think,
Okay.
yeah, we all know the rolling of information that makes it really unstable.
Yes,
Yeah.
sure does. So we already talked about how much providers care deeply for their families, which makes reinforcing policies feel very personal. But inconsistent policies, like I mentioned earlier, ultimately create more stress for everyone. It boils down to, have the good policies and don't be afraid to have those difficult conversations whenever you have to. Because if you have good policies, it's going to reduce the amount of difficult conversations that you need to have. Um,
It might not reduce the number of them, but at least you have a backbone to like this,
yeah, true,
this is what
true.
we're going through. So the other thing I talk about good policy is then it's not, I think we should do this and you think this is the way is right. You can say, this is the policy and we need to come
Yeah.
to an agreement to meet this policy. So it's us on the same side and we're just trying to agree to get to here. So
Yes.
it's not me versus you then. It's not me versus the customer or against the employees. It's us on the same side meeting this policy together.
Yep. It's like in a classroom. I didn't tell you to stop. The timer told you to stop. Like it's no, I 100% agree with you, Jessi. And I would say something that was really helpful for me too was thoroughly reviewing all of my policies in a meeting. Like my um, intake meetings were minimal, often up to 2 hours, because we thoroughly covered our entire contract, all of the policies that I have, because I wanted to make sure that parents really understood. And I was play based, that was years ago. That was a hard concept for some people to understand, that learning was happening through play. I mean, now we have a scientific evidence that shows that is how children learn best. Um, but you just really want to make sure that parents understand what your program policies are.
Can I go that next level too? And I'll talk about it further in one of the other upcoming slides, though, is not only that the policy is what you're selling to parents, because that's what they're going to expect from you, but then the process that you go about for your staff to do that too. Those processes, like the policies for your staff to accomplish what you're asking and what you're promising parents, is vital. And that's all with the onboard and creating accountability. But that's
Mhm.
all within policy. It's like, this is the policy. Here's how we're going to meet it. You're talking my soapbox now. This is how you create accountability and consistency for staff and families, and that high quality that we know strengthens your program and keeps you viable.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right. So administrative overload. I feel like this one is a little different for each program type, but many directors in South Dakota are wearing every single hat that there possibly is in a program. You're the HR, you're the billing, you're the licensing, you might be the coach, you're the janitor, you're the cook, you're the bus driver, you're the all the things. Um, and often that's not sustainable long term. I will say, on the flip side, if you're a family child care provider, you're stuck with it all. I actually, well, okay. I'll let you talk some more about that. Um, I actually did hire a cleaner during one of my programs. because I was like, I'm not getting to spend any time, and I was starting to get resentful, and I was like, something has to give, and I did actually hire a cleaner to come in. But I had to weigh like the cost of that versus my time and my freedom of being able to do things. But um, yeah, Jesse, I'll just throw it over to you. Go
I was
ahead,
just gonna
add some
say,
more.
I think admin overload is valid. Like the work we
Yeah,
do is huge. And so
yeah,
any way you can delegate, and I'll talk about ways we can go about that, but even in an in-home, you said a cleaner. Well, I hated social media. I did it, but if I were to ever do it again, I would like pay somebody to do that. Just I'll send you some pictures. You can just post every couple of days, make sure there's a consistent thing, work the
yeah,
algorithm. I hate it. So if that's what you don't like, delegate it. And you can do that in a center wide too. So helping administrative overload is ideally finding members of your team that you see and want to grow and let them take some accountability for some of the stuff. And then on a personal, like when it's your in-home, find the thing you hate the most, the one that drags you down. If it's putting stuff into the computer, pay an old lady to data entry that. There's all kinds of retired receptionists that would love to do that. If it's, I'm serious. If it's the cleaning, hire someone to clean. If it's the organizing of the stuff or cutting stuff out, like whatever it is that you hate doing, that's your overload. That is going to be the
yeah.
thing that is your demise. Like, know that all your stuff is being data entered and go get your nails done.
Yeah. Well, and
Okay,
sometimes you
good.
have volunteers like with grandparents that
Mhm.
want to help out, or possibly like college interns. You were talking about that social media. That could be a resume
Yes.
builder for a
Yes.
college student that's studying marketing. You
Hmm.
might reach out to your local college. I know Black Hill State has kids that do that. So sometimes that's an opportunity as
And
well.
we're yep. And so we want to delegate so we can focus on the thing we're most passionate about so we don't get overloaded. I can tell you the
Yep.
biggest thing of overload comes from doing things that grate on us, not the things we're passionate about. We'll just keep doing those. We'll keep showing up for the kids. We'll keep doing that. But if our aide is not doing their job and we're having to pick up the slack for everybody else in the building, that's going to burn us out just for the teachers. And from an admin perspective, if we're doing all of the extra tasks like cleaning and doing all that, that's going to burn us out. We have to delegate some of those things. We have to delegate all of those things. That's what a
Yep.
good leader does.
All right. And so we'll wrap up with the emotional toll. One of the most important things we can acknowledge in this work is that it is emotionally heavy. Very much, I like often in a very good way, but it can just weigh you down. Providers feel responsible for the children in their care, the families that they work with, and the staff, and often without the support that they need. But hey, that's why there's programs like Early Childhood Connections that offers coaching that helps you out and helps you work through some of these challenges in a personal one-on-one way, so that it will help you overcome those challenges that you individually are facing. And with that, I don't know, Jesse, if you have anything else, but we're going to get into some mindset shifts and strategies up next.
I will add on here that it's not just ECC though that you can reach out to, because that bottom point, feeling undervalued as a profession. We at ECC can't do the work that Janessa does and Kayla Klein does and advocates for this profession to be viewed as a profession. So I would encourage you to seek out and join SDAEYC, join Early Learner, find ways to have your voice heard, and those people can take that message to the powers that be that make these changes.
Speaking on that, like we do that at ECC to sit on the early learner initiatives, and that's just a really
Mhm,
good way to spend a little time getting a pulse on what's going around
mhm.
in the community, as well as like she said, getting your voice heard in an environment who can take the work and apply it. Because sometimes our little voice isn't enough. And so like we can't be all the feet on the ground, but collectively we can be more. So if you have any more information, I know Janessa can help with that. And if you want, if I'm already talking to you, because I see some of you in the room that already talked to me, like let me know and I'll get you on those committees too. I know where I can hook you up.
Okay, popping
Yep.
over to number 4, and it sticks with Jessie.
Yeah, so when we talk about practical strategies, when we talk about that bigger, higher level, like we were just talking about, some of that advocacy work is done above our level at ECC because it's at above the state level. We want that and the people that have that decision-making power to get in there. But for boots on the ground, that's us at ECC helping you do all the stuff that you guys do in the classroom and supporting. And so when we really think about those practical strategies, what is it that you can do from a leadership as an emerging leader in an in-home to really start thinking about your business as a premier high quality business in the Black Hills? And we need you to shift that mindset. Okay. And keep going to the next one. Oh, I lost. There we go. The work for caring for children is clearly your passion, but I'm sure, like we've said, being a director owner was not how you envisioned. Like you might have moved to that with the passion, but that's not how you started. That leadership takes time to develop. And really to really focus on sustainable systems to ensure that you can continue doing the work you're most passionate about. So systems can ensure predictability and provide some automation to the mental load that we do as directors or leaders and teachers. Um, Clear policies create those clear expectations, which we were talking about for families, but also for employees and anyone coming into your space so you can show them how your vision is coming to life. This is the foundation for strong working relationships with families and your team. You are the business owner and can continue being financially viable, you have to know your numbers. It's
Mhm.
data that is vital for you to be successful. We know that the amount of swing and adjustment is constant because it's such slim numbers. So know your numbers. The largest expense as a childcare business is your workforce. So developing, supporting, and protecting that investment is not only nuanced, but essential for us and these smaller communities with such limited workforce. And then many of you aspired to be leaders in childcare because you care so much for children and want the very best for them. And so the big reframe here is from working for caring for children and moving your focus to building a business with a focus on sustaining a system for children. So if you invest, so if you're in your in-home or you're navigating both arenas, just know that you're reframing that to leading the business at the core. Because if you have that
Mhm.
mindset, ultimately kids will benefit. It's
Mhm.
a hard shift, I know. It was for me. That's why, I mean, it really was for me too. Going a little bit more into that, when we think about creating systems that help us move forward so we can just not think about them. When I talked about lightening our load, it really means taking outside of that mental load that we're constantly shifting, that invisible work that nobody sees, but we're constantly doing. So by automating systems, it can be very helpful. Billing systems with fee assignments are more and more available. I know Brightwheel and ProCare both have features to make billing and then those like didn't pay your bill fees that automatically apply, registration fees that can automatically apply once a year, like all of that's built in. You just set it all up and then it'll just do it. And then you can be the nice one and be like, oh, we'll go in and override that fee, right? It comes and sounds a little better, but it's also really a mind release of information because you just know the system is set up. It also helps make tax time much easier, which oh, I hated it. It was like if it was anything that pushed me out of my in-home daycare, it was all of that paperwork. I hated it. Um, then when we talk about enrollment tracking, I did show you a few forms that can help with that so you can see how that's going. But there are also automated systems and things like Brightwheel that can show those numbers and where those gaps
Mhm.
will be. Those systems are already aware, like we talk about nationally, we know that this is a problem, and these systems are made to do that. It's worth the investment. So if
Mhm.
you want to talk to me about systems that might be more automated and that you could be using it to your fullest, I can help you dive into those a little bit more too.
And Jessi, I would just say something I did as a strategy because I I didn't have the Bright Wheel, but I used like Teaching Strategies Gold
Mhm.
to have a child development assessment. I would build that fee into my annual registration fee.
Mhm.
And so that it was the parents basically were covering that cost, and then the registration included a little bit more. So if you're going to add some higher quality things like that, because like Brightwell has many other opportunities, ease of pictures and communications and things like that,
They
feeding
even
schedules.
document milestones and things in there, and you can share that
Yes.
development information. It tracks all of
Yep.
your um, vaccines and records that way, health records,
Yep.
which is really, really helpful. And you can pull reports from there. So again, if you want information on ProCare, Brightwheel, or any of those, just
Yeah.
reach out. We can give you some like actual, like from when I've talked to other directors, like I'll get you in contact with them, not just listening to the salesman who's
Yes.
try to sell you, but I will get you in contact with another director who's using that app and you can see if that's something you want.
Yes. And often that's something parents are willing to pay a little bit extra for, and huge return on investment because that's elevating your quality of your care whenever you're utilizing systems like that.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And again, the mental load off my head that I know I communicated all the things that parents need on a daily basis and the billing and all that stuff. Oh, it was a lifesaver for me.
So can I just add one thing on here that we was part of our boot camp that was kind of new to me learning was AI, if you believe in using it, can also be used as a great resource for planning out meal plans, grocery lists, things like that, that can help with good use of your time, because maybe you might not like to plan out that whole meal plan and that grocery store list. And you can use AI and have it develop like a 4-week cycle, or it's all in how you prompt it. But it's pretty amazing how it will work to benefit you with some resourcefulness with your time in different programs. Because you can say meet USDA standards and stay within this budget and things like that.
With that same thought, I've helped a lot of directors get on our resource hub, and there's some really good food program stuff with that same kind
Mm,
of concept.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
then I would say one of the programs, for instance, the it can curtail it for an in-home daycare on that. Like they have a tool that does it for creating menus. They also
Oh,
have
nice.
recipes on there. But one thing it says is it's for, 20 kids or for 50 kids,
Yep.
but this program had 60 kids. And then I just threw that whole recipe into an AI support and it said, can you
It
convert this
made the
to
adoption
60 servings instead? And it just went whoop. So
amazing.
that was very, very helpful when you're talking about ease. So I'm all for that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
And again, Resource Hub has some really good resources for that kind of thing too. So but yes, automate it and get the help you need because survival mode is not effective for anybody. Yeah. Okay. Well, one more thing about some apps that I found that are really helpful with that. When I work can really help with scheduling and let other staff see when there's like I can't take off. There's 5 people gone. I can see that. And so then you can't request anymore. It's like it's all blocked in there. The scheduling can be really helpful if that's something you want to make. Okay. I know directors who are really good at doing the schedule. The problem is communicating it out so that no one takes off more days. There's nowhere else you can take off. And if there's a day open, who's going to take it? Like that is a visual system to share out. And that's why it works better. Not necessarily that the director isn't capable of doing the scheduling. It's a clear way to communicate and make changes with a team that struggles to find the information, even if you send it a million ways.
I
I work with
was
directors.
gonna
I hear your problems, ladies.
that was one of the things I did the most, scheduling. I really wish apps existed back when I was a center director, because I think it can help you see things visually now,
Mhm.
better than in the past, better than just either paper or spreadsheets.
And it
Yep.
also it runs reports too, like Brightwheel does. So you can look
Yep.
at trends over how many hours you're paying, like what is my average workforce cost? Like my infant toddler, this is how many hours I'm having to pay. Okay, now I have to think about what does that tuition look like there. So yeah,
Mhm.
when I work is great.
When I work. Okay, so you can go to the next one. I want to make sure we can get through a couple more of these before we run out of time. So when we talk about clear policies, this is the hill I will die on. I cannot emphasize enough how helpful it is for building strong relationships with families and with your teaching team. So families feel safer when they know what to expect and the things that they see around them are predictable because it's what you said. An employee handbook should mirror the family's handbook in detail processes. So the expectations for the teaching team are clear to follow and can be met. And so that your handbook for your families is being met. The teaching team feels more competent and capable with expectations and processes that are this detailed. So in the work that I do with leadership, without clear details of processes and expectations, teachers will do what they think is best. And oftentimes it takes into consideration personal needs and that case by case details. And we want to avoid that at all costs. Because if we are consistent, then families know you'll be consistent with their kids. This adds levels of uncertainty and reduces your credibility when they're doing what they want and aren't following your mission. They might be, but it's that kind of willy-nilly how it goes about what they feel is right in that moment, right? They're not taking the business into perspective. They're taking the kids and the students and the family needs into perspective, which we appreciate. That's what we hired them to do, right? But from a business perspective, we need them to follow the policy. And it really does avoid that case-by-case scenario. Okay, keep going. The numbers we had mentioned, this is your key to being on track. And we know with things shifting, we can adjust accordingly when things come up. So looking at your budget every couple of times a year is definitely not enough. Making data-driven decision makings is what will ensure that your business stays open so you can continue providing amazing care for children. If that's your passion, you have to know your numbers. Compare your projected budget and your financial statement every 2 to 3 months to make sure you're on track and make adjustments accordingly. The iron triangle worksheet can really help calculate what full capacity and predict revenues according to that. And then another tool that's really helpful is that enrollment tracker. You can find that on our resource hub or reach out and we'll chat about it. And we know that having data about individual children can have a huge impact on our ability to support them in developmental learning experiences. That's the same way we need to approach the knowing up-to-date detailed financial information to ensure that our business is sustaining and growing at its best potential. Okay, keep going. So we talk next, it's protecting that workforce. This is why policies are important. So I emphasize policies and procedures more than I think anyone else. This is that I will keep doing it. And that is because your biggest cost as a childcare center is wages. And then to ensure stability in your business, you must protect that workforce, protect that investment. Much of our state is rural communities and the workforce is very limited. And creating stability in this market has been a focus of much of my work in this leadership since I've taken that and kind of moved into ECC. And so developing a program with clear values, direction, and processes to create a culture that teachers can buy into and grow with. That's what they're looking for. If a teacher feels supported, she feels likely to stay and work through the tough times, through staffing shortages, through changes, time where you aren't able to raise wages. A good teacher who feels supported and appreciated will stay through those times. So building professional relationships with your team through acknowledgement of work that you are proud of and acknowledging and supporting your team through ways that they can grow. So you can acknowledge what they're doing well and create accountability for them growing in the ways you need them to grow. Both of that supports them in their professional growing, like learning and teaching experience. And that's what we wanted, right? If we had the space to make a mistake and ask for support, we would continue to do that and become better. But what I see is we don't have enough time. A lot of directors aren't dedicating that time to support that growth because, frankly, they're burnt out. And I know this. But if we spent more, if we really focused and understand that the workforce is the investment, they are the investment. Without them, we can't do it. And that means having the culture of support that they need to stay, the relationship for them to feel confident in the work that they're good at, and supporting them through the professional development they need to grow into the team you really want them to be. And that comes from teachers who see like new teachers coming in. It comes from the director leading them where you want to go. And in your in-home, pouring into the things you want to learn more about, getting support, and reaching out to the community at large to get that support. I remember when I had my in-home, one of the best things that I found was a daycare, another in-home that was right around the corner, probably about 4 or 5 blocks away. And we'd walk together and we'd hang out together and we'd share that collective thought. And it was so important to have that professional confidant and people to build in that relationship. So wherever you are, protecting your workforce is the stability that kids need and that your business needs. Let me help you develop those systems. Call me.
I was going to chime in. Jessi soapboxes, policies, and procedures. So that's who you're going to hit up for that. I'm the relationship gal. And so
Yep.
when that's on here, that is my jam. And I'm in the process of creating a training on mirroring the pyramid model. If you're not new to ECC, that is where we pull, like, that's our philosophical approach to early childhood. And mirroring that for the adults, because too often we know as teachers and directors that we cannot engage with children if we don't have that base, if we don't have the relationship, safe connection with the children, if we haven't created a nurturing environment. It's the same for the adults. Teachers need the exact same thing that that pyramid model talks about with kids. So stay tuned for that because that'll be my soapbox. As Jessi has said, policies is her soapbox.
And you know what? One of mine is very similar to that. That's positive descriptive feedback that builds that culture and that relationship. And I'm developing that training. So look for that one too. That's for both the teachers and the students. Okay. We know what you guys are looking for because we feel it chatting with you and we keep that good feedback coming because we're going to keep rolling with it. This one is, we know that the last bit is that reframing of leadership. Many of us have moved into the role of leading or educating because we're passionate about the work with children. And it was even tough for me to switch that mindset that I am no longer the direct caregiver to the students. You're the direct caregiver of the teachers. You're cultivating their experience and supporting them. You're cultivating the dream team you want to bring your vision to life in your center. So you want to showcase your teaching team's talents and let them glimmer, let them sparkle. That is going to be your high quality center. And if each one of your staff has a little glimmer of their strengths showing through, your quality will shine. So beyond the work of leading your team is sustaining systems that are built on to support them in the background. The financial support, clear mission and policies, clear sound financial practices, and data-driven decision making. Your passion can be there. You just got to switch that mindset a little bit.
Okay, that was a lot of information, but a lot of really good information, probably some refreshing ideas. Hopefully, like Jessi and Janessa ended there, you guys are comfortable with flipping that mindset and stepping into this additional role or changing your role a little bit. Okay, we're going to go into what next steps are. If this is something you're like, yep, I want continued support in this, I need to continue down this path of being a high quality provider through my smart business practices. Here are two next steps that we want you to encourage you to look at. So the ECE Resource Hub, that was dropped in that email. There was also a link in the chat. That's our logo there, the South Dakota Early Childhood Enrichment. That's ECC. We are one of 5 regions. And then over here on the other side is Early Learner South Dakota, Janessa's realm of the advocacy and the work that they're doing to create early learner communities. And I'll let her speak a little bit on that too.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that over the last several years, especially since the pandemic, we've opened a lot more opportunities where you do not have to be a member, that you can start getting involved in some of the work that we're doing. I think I've been an AC member since 2005, and South Dakota is an affiliate of that. So every state that I moved to, that's where I found the professionals working in the field, the people that helped me at the different levels that I was at. We work to connect people with help that they're needing. We actually are going to be working on building an advocacy team this year, because it's, as much as we try to collect the voices and be the big bullhorn to people that need it, often the direct storytelling from providers themselves is extremely impactful as well. And part of that is that we work to sometimes, and I will say it is grant dependent and funding dependent on, so we have in the past been able to provide stipends to get people to the Capitol to be able to testify, to support like providers speaking up, to have childcare assistance for childcare providers. That was one of the bills. Hopefully, we bring it back. It was vetoed last year, but well, the year before. Those, those are some of the things that are very meaningful that we do. But we also work on quality and community driven solutions as well across South Dakota. So I put the two websites in. Early Learner is more our advocacy work. Our SDAEYC website is more our professional services. We actually connect the enrichment offices, higher education, K-12 systems, and everybody in between together in a professional development committee. So we talk about the gaps that we might have in South Dakota, meeting the needs for people. Because everybody kind of has niches, and like Jessi had said, sometimes things are grant dependent on the CCDBG funds for what we're able to provide through our enrichment offices as well. So we just try to keep a beat on all of that, and be aware and advocate wherever is appropriate.
Perfect. And Jessi dropped her email and the ECE website. Another thing that I'll let her talk about is Director 360 as well. So if that's something that you're unfamiliar with, I'll let her give a little soapbox on that.
Yeah, so one of the things that's really great about our ECE system is we have all kinds of initiatives that roll across the state. And you can see in that little picture, the big dark blue is our region, but other regions that come up with good plans. And then we have access to tap into some of those kind of things that have come across the state. And one of them is our Director 360 program. And that is a way to highlight the work that the state does and the work that we do to tie together. So when you work with a licensing agent, they are going to give you all the rules and expectations from the state level. And then I am going to come in and support you in making sure you understand how you can do that with best practice. So the 360 program is really designed to really walk a new director through the ins and outs of every part of childcare here in South Dakota as it pertains to licensing and understanding their expectations. And so what that kind of looks like is licensing. You can talk to your licensing agent and say you're interested in the 360 program. You kind of heard about it in here. And then they'll kind of say if it's something that would probably benefit you. If you're new to a director position or you're wanting to grow and you've just kind of been the same for a while and you want to kind of revisit a lot of stuff, it could be very helpful. You talk to your licensing agent and kind of go through like the first section, and I just sit in on it and listen to you guys have a little chat. Be like, oh, what I heard you say is you want to work on this and you want to work on this. And then you'd come work with me as your coach, and we would work on whatever that is, whether it's policy development or marketing strategies or creating better onboarding program, whatever it is. I say those three things because those are three things I have recently helped a program director work with. So getting their staff a professional development plan, I connect them with our professional development specialist. If a director I'm working with needs support in their school age care program because summer is kicking off, I'll connect you to our school age care specialist. So not only does that 360 program support the director, but it also puts you in contact with me, who has support with all of the other things in our office too. So go
Perfect.
360.
Okay, then professional growth. So if you are feeling, as leaders in this field, all of you in attendance tonight, that you want to grow, learn more, here are some next steps in regards to that. So, Black Hill State is on the left here, and I have this here because it is one of the few Western universities in our region that offers anything with early childhood. Formerly, it was just a dual bachelor's of special education and early childhood. However, launching fall of 26, there will be an associate's in early childhood education, which just means if you have your CDA, you can articulate that or get credit for prior learning for 11 credit hours. So what that means, it's like free college credit. If you have your CDA transcript, whether or not it's lapsed or anything, if you have that transcript, it's like free college credit. And then you can also get the joy of seeing Janessa and I, as we're both adjunct professors up there. The middle one, Janessa already talked about SDAEYC, that we are the local affiliate for NACCE. And she spoke about being a member. And there's just so many beautiful things that come from seeing other people in the field, getting to have those conversations. The state conference is such a great time to go get exposed to other trainings, other opinions and viewpoints. So there's a lot of really good things that come from that. And then Janessa is obviously involved. I'm your chapter rep. So if you'd like to talk more, you can also reach out to me. And then the CDA, if you do not have your child
All the
develop.
hats.
Yeah.
Rose, I just got to say all the hats, right?
I am no longer the CDA coordinator. I took that hat off. But, this is the most nationally recognized early childhood credential, and it just gives you this beautiful baseline understanding of what child development is, what high quality care looks like. So if you have some teachers in your program that you're thinking you want to pour into, like Jessi said, look this up. Jessi is the instructor, and so she would be a great resource to even maybe have that teacher ask some questions like, what does it all entail? What is my time commitment? So she would be a great contact for that as well. So there's my professional growth ideas for you guys. And we've got about 5 minutes. So pre-submitted questions, we're going to fly through. So Jessi and
I've
Janessa,
got
what are some practical ways to improve staff retention when we can't compete with wages in other industries?
so I did a little forethought on this. As we've mentioned in early education, we're all about the passion and the connections. And people often stay because of relationships, the culture, the flexibility, and mission alignment, not just pay alone. So just a few quick things, workplace culture. Is it right? Investing in professional growth. Some programs actually will help you uh, work towards those higher level achievements that are your personal goals. Providing meaningful recognition within programs. When I was at the conference, Head Start on one of their luncheons does their whole recognition thing. And SDAEYC, we do a professional recognition of the field, but you can do that internally in your programs as well. Recognize people that have been there for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. It's amazing when you get to the 30 and 40 years.
We do that in our Starting Strong program too. So recognizing
Yes.
accomplishments professionally, completing like big trainings, certifications, like those.
Yep.
Our work is a little different than just being like, oh, I got this degree and now I'm here. It's like I went this way and this was passionate for me. So I took this training and have this certificate and I can do this now. And I'm bringing this piece into my classroom and raise them up, let them teach other people.
Yes, and I would say additionally like non-traditional benefits, which this is part I do see this quite a bit in South Dakota, childcare discounts, but also things like wellness supports or maybe that professional membership into SDAEYC. Is that something you could provide to your staff where they're getting that connection to feel more professional and connected to the field? Just in accessing community resources as well, it being a part of the enrichment system and understanding all the resources that are offered. Those were just some of the that I kind of to get more.
The one I just want to add to it a little bit more is that when you think about offering customized support for your staff. I know that directors are running on fumes too, and leaders are too. So let us help you. Let ECE system
Yes.
help you. We can offer some support and some We can offer trainings. We can offer customized trainings. One of the things we're really passionate and pushing a lot is those customized trainings for your center. So having us come out and do something that'll roll out what you want, supporting the staff and clearly what they need, but also like dividing and conquering. If you have infants that need infant toddler teachers that need some specific training, or infant teachers specifically, and then your preschool needs some support with challenging behaviors, like we will create a system to support them for exactly what they need. And that is really beneficial for acknowledging your team. Sometimes the acknowledgement is just acknowledging the struggle, which is why we were here tonight, acknowledging the struggle.
Okay, what systems or practices help reduce director burnout when leadership roles feel overwhelming?
All the things we just talked about.
Strong systems,
Yes,
delegating some
yes.
of the responsibility, and
Delegation,
focusing on
absolutely.
relationships. Because it's good for us too. We love to have good relationships with the people we work with. Feeds us.
Something we didn't mention earlier, though, Jessi, is building protected planning time into schedules for teachers. I know that was something when I was working with ECC that was so appreciated. And don't let that just go by the wayside if somebody calls out, like, protect that time, because in quality programs, that is so, so very meaningful to teachers.
Absolutely. I was thankful enough to work at a program for almost 10 years that I had a carved out 4 hours every week to lesson plan, which is like unheard of, right? Like when I
Yeah,
talked but it is so beneficial for you to be able to be prepared as that teacher. So I think what Janessa said is a great way to help reduce burnout.
Can I
mhm,
twofold that? Like protect your own time too. So if you're
mhm.
blocking out as a leader time to get paperwork and stuff done, put that, like make there a
Yes.
sign that says this is blocked time. Unless someone is bleeding or dying, I need 20 minutes to enter this data, or you're not getting paychecks today. Or
Yeah.
like
Yep.
have a system to block out your time and protect that time too, for teachers and for yourself.
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
reach out to me. Don't do it in isolation.
That's what it's about, making those
Uh-huh.
connections and relationships. So
Yep.
thank you guys for coming tonight. And I hope that you're walking away understanding that business practices in early childhood are not just the budgets, enrollment, and policies. Those are super important. However, it's creating those systems where programs are stable, the educators, you as well, directors, feel supported, and then children, as a result, get to experience high quality, consistent care. So I really hope that you guys have taken away some new tools, some new resources. There were tons of them that the experts provided. I'm going to cut short my wrap up because we're already at 8 o'clock. If there was time for any wrap up questions, if you guys had any that were percolating, please drop them in the chat. I'm going to navigate over to our evaluation. If you're not familiar with ECC's website, which I think you all are because you signed up, but I will drop it in the chat as well so that you can go over there and check out our new trainings. Our next 6-month training catalog should be coming out by the end of the month. Hopefully, we're working towards it. I think there's just a couple final things. Got all 6 new experts. I'm super excited for you guys to hear some really great topics. Next month, I have an outdoor early childhood teacher from Oregon as our expert. And so that'll be really fun to segue into summer. Here's the evaluation QR code. Let me drop the link in the chat. This is how I check for participation since there's no pre or post. So once you complete that, you are free to go. I am going to turn it over to the experts to have some closing remarks, and then I have a trailer video to show you as well. So we'll start with Janessa.
Oh, geez. I would just say take it one goal at a time. If there's any changes that you want to make, set some realistic expectations for yourself. This was a lot of information, but there are a lot of resources out there to be able to help you. And do not be afraid to reach out. Answers are only a call or an email away.
Perfect. Thank you, Janessa. Jessi?
And I would just say, remember that this work can feel isolating, but that's because you're not reaching out. We're here to support you. This work, there's always going to be enough care for everyone. We're not in competition with each other. We're here to do this hard work together.
I love that. I love ending on connections. So, again, Jessi and Janessa, thank you so much for humoring me and hopping on tonight. Your guys' wisdom and experience is invaluable to me and to all of our providers in attendance. So I thank you. We are going to show this little trailer while you guys are filling out that evaluation. I actually first saw this at SDAEYC was it in Rapid when you guys showed this, Janessa? Like in
Potentially, yes. We've
2022?
shown it so much, honestly.
That was my first time viewing it, and
Yes,
it definitely it's gonna trigger some
powerful.
emotions. It wasn't as
Hmm.
visceral of a reaction for me as No Small Matter, but it is very powerful. So we're gonna play this.
Yes.
If we don't do this job properly, we're going to be behind the rest of the world.
If we're not preparing children, generations of folks are going to be left behind.
This is an American issue if there's ever been one.
No matter where you sit politically or economically, the solution for moving our country forward into the 21st century is early childhood education.
The importance of the early years hasn't changed at all. What's changed is the world.
Part of what we're losing in our high-paced society is the ability to actually connect with one another. One of the biggest benefits of early childhood education is the social and emotional development and growth.
We play together in class, then we eat snack together, then we hug together. We play this play.
They think they're playing, but what they're actually doing is learning.
His social skills have really expanded. It's been a big difference from last year to this year.
Brain research tells us we have a very small window.
Every developmental expectation is literally at its height of development in a child's earliest years.
If they don't get it 0 to 3 to 4 to 5, you will never be the kind of state, to be the kind of country you want to be and you need to be.
Me staying at home was not an option.
Early childhood programs are particularly well positioned to help whole families move ahead, to help children and their parents move ahead at the same time.
It's critical to our future success, but yet our investment is so small in that area.
Making sure that our youngest learners have that equalizing opportunity may well be the most important thing that we can do in public office.
This is America's pathway to international success in the digital age.
When I grow up, I want to be a train driver. I want to be a doctor and mom. I want to be an artist.
We ought to put our children first in America. It's the morally right thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do economically.
Okay. Well, thank you all. And you are free to go as soon as that evaluation is done. And I hope I see you all in June again for that outdoor learning evening with the experts.